have ticked off rounds 1, 2 and 3 and are approaching the end of the first third of the season as we arrive here for round 4 of Friday Night Primetime, brought to you by the iR-04 Challenge Series here at Laguna Seca. The Red Bull Ring, Watkins Glen and Interlagos provided some of the series' most memorable action, and as our drivers tackle the challenge of Laguna Seca today, we should expect nothing less. A track that takes no prisoners. With its unforgiving gravel traps and sausage curbs, consistency will be key in this 20-minute showdown. It will be myself, Zach Sweeney, joined by Will Chadwick in the commentary booth with Connery Maddock behind the scenes. And Will, first of all, welcome in. How do you think the drivers will fare around such a difficult circuit?
Yeah, like you say, Laguna is a staple of iRacing's sort of ecosystem, being one of the free tracks that is available on the service when you get a subscription. Many people have raced here before. It's always a challenge with the dirt, always asking to suck you in, and you end up having a crash. I think it'll be interesting. I think we're in for a good race.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Of course, the standard is set very high. And as I was saying in the intro, Red Bull Ring, Watkins Glen and Interlagos were our first 3 rounds of this season. We head to Road Atlanta next time out, and quite a variety of circuits on the calendar. We've got a good mix of like club style, the tight and twisty ones, the likes of Brands Hatch and Otwin Park, but also, the slightly wider, more F1 style ones. And I guess it just goes to show you can really race this car anywhere.
Absolutely, I think this car is one of the... It's a little bit of an exception on the service because it likes to slide a little bit more. It's a little bit easier to drive in that sense, but there's hardly any dirt here. It's a fantastic addition, and I think with it being unbranded, it's a really attractive prospect for eSports Series as well.
Absolutely, it is one of those very, very versatile cars. But as we jump into qualifying, then we have got what is a fairly strong field. Some big names and some recognisable ones as well. The likes of Ryan McKellar, who at the moment is provisionally pole position with a 1:21.428. Will, you were saying that you were going to find out the sort of the benchmark lap times. What are we expecting from these top split guys?
I said I was going to do that. I'm not quite sure if I found it, but what I imagine to see is we're going to see the low 21s, maybe a venture into the 20s. It's always dependent really on track conditions. The conditions at the minute being a 44-degree track with a 21 air, but the wind is very high heading to the northwest. I think potentially low 21s here, but it seems to be a good first lap from Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of those staple names that we always come to know and love. Some very memorable battles in the past, the likes of Silverstone, I think it was last season. And yeah, he's always one of those that are up there. But of course, in qualifying, iRacing works a little bit different. So whilst you do get the full 8 minutes, you only get 2 laps. How crucial, especially around a circuit like Laguna Seca, of course, with the gravel traps and the difficulty of this circuit, how crucial are those 2 laps going to be?
Oh, qualifying in iRacing is one of the hardest disciplines that you can undertake. It's really hard to make sure that you get your lap done in the small allocation of time and also laps. Remember, if you go off and have an off-track, break track limits at any point in time, that lap's lost. You don't get to, even if you have time, you don't get another free. It's 2 laps, that's it, 2 times crossing the line, and that's going to be a lot. So it's always very hard to produce a lap and get it together in the allocated time.
Absolutely, and especially around a circuit like Laguna Seca. Just look at how Van Handel is trying to handle this circuit. It's really one of those things that you just have to be confident in both yourself and the car. But as you were saying, with a car that's quite... it will definitely spit you out if you're not careful, this iR-04. So yeah, this combination between car and track really is going to separate the good from the great in terms of consistency, and just being able to keep it on the grey stuff is going to be one of the most important things about today.
Yeah, I think going into the race, we've got 2 minutes left in quality. We're watching Van Handel do and finish off his lap. Yeah, like you say, it's going to be interesting to see who's going to keep it together. I think always on that opening lap with the tyres a little bit cold, it's very easy to make a small mistake, dip a wheel onto the gravel or dirt area, like you say, and just throw away so much time. Short format, only 20 minutes. It's very easy to make a mistake and that be your race over. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Laguna Seca still lends itself to some good overtaking, of course, into turn 2, the Andretti hairpin. You can get a move done down the inside if you've got the slipstream. It all relies on that run out of turn 11, of course, into the corkscrew as well. While it is very risky to run side by side, just to get your nose in to the left-hand side or to the right-hand side, whichever way you want to go, it is a difficult thing in its past, because the braking for the corkscrew, especially in a car like this, is probably one of the most hardest braking zones across motorsport. But running through the top 5, it is Ryan McCullough that at the moment is provisionally pole position, but with only 1 minute left, you have to say it's going to be quite a tough ask with William McIntyre in second place, Martinson P3 with Callum Boyes in P4, and Nick Thyssen P5. Some of those top names up there, and they are very close as well, less than 3/10 covering them.
Yeah, I think, like you say, we've got 3 drivers in the 0.7s, only just over 1.5 tenths between second to sixth place. It really shows kind of how good Ryan's lap actually is. 2 tenths ahead of the field. It doesn't seem like a lot, but when you factor in how close these standings are, it really does show his quality.
Absolutely. And of course, you don't have much opportunity to make that time up around Laguna Seca. It is one of those shorter circuits, only 11 corners. So you do have to maximize each and every single one of them. But after our 2 laps of qualifying, this is how they rack up for 20 minutes of racing. And it should be a very, very good one indeed. I certainly cannot wait.
No, absolutely. I think we should have the grid up soon. But yeah, just to talk about some of the specifications of this car, it's 160 horsepower. It's pretty hard to get the power down. Here we go. There's the grid. It's Ryan McCullough on pole with William McIntyre in second. Third place is Matthias Martin, and fourth is Callum Boyes. Fifth, Nick Thyssen, and sixth is Nicholas Taylor. Over to you, Zach.
Yeah, of course, very close amongst the top 6. It is Niels van Handel in P7. He'll have Lucas Zielinski on his outside to his right as they barrel their way down towards the Andretti hairpin. Then comes Freddie Ingram and Ayan rounding off the top 10 with Kevin DePaul in P11 and Marco Theat to his right. 1 second actually covering the top 12. Lewis McGlade in P13 trying to represent the microphone and doing a pretty good job amongst some of the best. Henry O'Regan will join him on the 7th row of the grid with Dan Blake just behind with Kasper Tsutska in P16. Benish Ladd in P17 with Stein Sapp P18 just behind, and rounding off the final row of the grid in P19 and 20 comes Marvin Frias and Patrick Runzendahl 19th and 20th there. They, of course, are the ones that were able to settle up. There'll be probably a couple more that were unable to do so, and well, they've certainly got their work cut out from today.
Yeah, we see the drivers now loading up onto the grid. As you can see, they're all taking their time. It's a 2-minute gridding phase in iRacing, and you can grid whenever you like. Once all drivers are gridded, we will start to get the light sequence. Interesting run down into turn 1 as we see William McIntyre grid up there in the number 1 car. The numbers meaning how high iRating they are, basically. So 1 being the highest in the lobby, and then I think it is 20th being the lowest.
Yeah, indeed so. So William McIntyre showing true to his reputation. 7.5k iRating. No mean feat by any stretch of the imagination. Still waiting for our pole sitter of Ryan McCullough to load up there on the front left of the grid for his pole position. 10 seconds until we go to the lights then for round number 4 of the iR-04 Challenge Series. There he is, and we are getting ready to go underway now with the 5 red lights soon appearing on your screen. It's going to be a dash to turn 2 as they barrel their way towards the Andretti hairpin for the first time. The cars are revving up, and we are underway here at Laguna Seca. A fantastic start then from our pole sitter as McIntyre just has to tuck in behind the rest of the field, just trying to funnel their way through, find a gap already onto the defensive potentially. That's third place. Martinson just trying to find the gap, potentially follow Ryan McCullough through, but there goes McIntyre trying to go the long way around, keeping himself in second place. You can see there the number 3, that is Callum Boyes, trying to get himself up into P3 to the inside of turn 3, and indeed does so. Nicholas Taylor as well, trying to follow his real life racing protege, his colleague amongst in front, and a big old spin towards the back.
I believe that his Stutska is gone off at the back. Like we said, it's easy to make mistakes on this opening lap, and it looks like the number 5 car has gone around. It's going to be really disappointing for him, and he's going to get his head down, hoping to make up some more positions as we see a replay.
Yeah, not the longest race, of course, but still time potentially to make it up. Just getting a really good start and maybe getting a little bit too desperate is Stutska. Just it's so easy to get overwhelmed by everyone on your inside, and of course, your spotter's not always going to get it right. You might think, oh, I've got some space on the inside, I'll just turn across, and yeah, with how fragile these cars are, very easy for it to go around.
Yeah, the car looks okay, but like you said, just a misjudgment of the car on the inside there. It's cost him dearly in such a short format of 20 minutes here.
Yeah, absolutely, and well, he's got his work cut out for him, of course, while they do have a fast repair. The trip down the pit lane certainly is not worth it as we round off the first lap. William McIntyre still in hot pursuit of the number 6 of Ryan McCullough, looking a little bit further back. This is Martinson under pressure from Nicholas Taylor, going defensive in towards turn 2. You can see Taylor going to have to go to the right-hand side. It's the long way round, very tricky around the outside of the Andretti hairpin. That's going to invite potentially Nick Thyssen to get to the inside. 3 abreast on the exit, maybe, as Martinson goes in deeps, invite both Taylor and Thyssen through, and he's on the defensive trying to keep Nick Thyssen at bay around the outside of turn 3. You can see goes Thyssen, but again, still keeping him honest, and everyone trying to find a way through, find a gap. Nick Handel trying and finesse his way through as well. Martinson, it's just so easy to go backwards because of this massive pack of cars. You can see he's made one mistake and he's potentially lost, indeed might actually lose 3 places because of it.
Yeah, like you say, I mean, it shows the raceability of this car, but it also shows how close these are together as they nearly go side by side through the fast left-hander. That is a very, very tricky thing to do. They all come out safely, and they're still battling down into the corkscrew. This is incredible racing.
Absolutely, as Lewis Brigade as well, trying to make up some places a little bit further back, still side by side. This is between Zielinski and Regan as they battle their way through in towards turn number 9. Still side by side, very tricky to do because of course you have full trust in that driver on your inside to give you the space, and if they don't, you are going to meet the gravel very, very quickly indeed. This is Handel on the outside of the number 19 of Ingram, still going to run side by side. That better drive on the outside line though just gives him that propulsion down this straight in order to be able to get ahead and cover off that inside and avoid being attacked potentially in towards the Andretti hairpin, but he's got his work cut out for him. Looking to the inside as Ingram can't quite find the gap. He's going to send in Handel in deep, and well, that's a very easy mistake to make in the desperation of defence.
Absolutely, like you say, that is just a little mistake there, locking up the brake, going wide. A quick note on Regan, highest gainer in the field so far, up 5 places as we watch a replay. See getting better drive out of the final corner. And yeah, like you say, coming through the turn 1 sequence, making the defence, not knowing where the car behind is going to go, locking up a brake, and it's so easy to do around there.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's that thing. It's so easy to get caught up looking in your mirrors, trying to keep the car behind at bay, when in actual fact it's more beneficial just to focus on your driving. Drive quickly and you won't have to defend. It's pretty much as simple as that. Not quite, as we see Powell and McGlade going side by side. I think Lewis McGlade is going to give up that position and himself behind in P13. You're not going forward, not going backwards. There goes Stein Sapp though, spinning around the corkscrew, and I think that's a mistake pretty much everyone has probably done at least once or twice.
Yeah, I just lost the rear, I think, on the entry into the corkscrew, as we see here. A little replay coming through the fast left-hander. I think he's got Handel behind. Yeah, like we say. So Handel behind, Sapp just running into the corkscrew, getting onto the brakes about now. Let's see how he did it. Yeah, just too much speed in. Yeah, there you go, and around. As easy as it can be done on a track as tricky as Laguna Seca.
I was going to say that consistency is key, and these cars really don't like those sudden undulation changes. As we look a little bit in front, Freddie Ingram was in hot pursuit with Handel, and well, very quickly as a big old crash actually coming off of turn 11 as everyone tries to find their way through. A big slide there as well as they exit. He's going to be in a slightly damaged car, so too is the person that smacked into him. Not entirely sure who that was. And well, that is just how unfortunate it can be. As we cut back to live action, it's still Ryan McKillop that leads William McIntyre and Callum Boyes in 1, 2 and 3. That gap being quite a stalemate. I don't think McIntyre really has the legs maybe to go for an offence, and maybe it might not even be worth it. That looming threat of Callum Boyes might put him off.
I don't know, we'll see. The smart decision would definitely be to try and build that gap to Voice in behind. He's just on the edge of toe. I, in fact, actually caught a little bit in the latter stages of this lap. They really want to get and break that toe from Voice in. That will allow them then to save the battling to the later half, the latter half of the race, and then they wouldn't maybe lose a pace to Voice and get in a 3-way car fight instead of a 2. You lessen the risk of finishing lower down. But it doesn't look like Voisin's on the attack here, and he's really, really trying to catch up. And yeah, it definitely could be done. We'll see, I guess.
Well, we absolutely will. On that last lap, it was a 21.9 for McKillop and 21.6 for both McIntyre and Boysen. So both of them seem to be quicker in this portion of the race. And big snap from William McIntyre there, getting over that sausage curve. And well, these cars really do not like those sudden adjustments to anything. Going over the sausage curves, bottoming out the car, anything like that will really unsettle the car. Luckily for him, it wasn't too major. As you can see, McKillop pushing the limits, dipping a wheel into the gravel trap as he exits turn number 6. The pressure certainly is on because he's got two pretty experienced and pretty quick drivers behind him. That pressure will start to build.
Yeah, like you say, the pressure is something that you either perform under it or it swallows you up. You know, it's such a hard thing when you've got close racing in these Formula cars, especially the Formula 4, which has less dirty air. You know, it's easier to follow. It's such an off-putting thing when you see that car darting behind in your mirrors. You know, you don't want to be looking backwards. You only want to be focusing forward. Otherwise, you really can start to lose it and feel the pressure.
Absolutely, and well, pressure does make diamonds, so you either perform under it or you crack. This is Nicholas Taylor under pressure from Nick Thyssen and Martensen as well. In hot pursuit, you can see Nick Thyssen trying to get himself inside the top 4. Taylor going to the left-hand side to defend. Nick Thyssen going to the outside to try and launch an offensive manoeuvre. Martensen as well might fill up that gap to the left-hand side and put some pressure on. Indeed does so. You can see the number 4 on the outside towards turn 3. Nick Thyssen trying to use offense as a method of defense, use the gap that he's going to fill to try and attack Nicholas Taylor to try and keep Martensen at bay. But these three certainly locked in a fight, and well, Nicholas Taylor second place in the GB4 Championship. He certainly knows his way around a race circuit, using that real world experience to try and keep these two at bay.
Well, like you say, the second row of the grid, if it was a qualifying order, is all real world experience, both running on the same weekends, GB3 and GB4, Callum Boyson and Nicholas Taylor. Yeah, but like you say, sometimes when someone in front of you is slower, as we see them go on the attack here into the corkscrew, you said it was hard earlier, they get away with it. But and a mistake on the exit by Thyssen. It's Martensen to the outside. Can he make it work? Not quite able to make the move. But the point I was coming to is sometimes when the car in front of you is slower, it can back you up into the car behind. And that means that then you are pressured to make that move in order not to get attacked. And you know, sometimes the car behind can sit there and think, you know, I'm going to let them make their move and then I'm going to try and capitalise and go through with them if they see your pace advantage. But other times they can also attack, and it really does get a little bit messy.
Sometimes it's actually the worst place to be, second place in a train, because you have to look forwards and backwards, and you know it's so much. But of course, it's going to be better to lead the train. Of course, you get the higher up positions, or to actually trail the train, because then you've got little pressure. This is Henry O'Regan now leaving the pit lane, whether that was just where he happened to be when he rejoined the circuit, or whether he had to serve a drive-through penalty. We're going to take a look and see what it was. And out of turn 11, yeah, it definitely was a spin, and very easy to do off the exit of the Andretti hairpin, because it's one of those corners you really want to send it in on the brakes, but you really have to shorten the distance you travel. And how sensitive these cars are, you can get it a little bit wrong, especially on the braking, and the car will just loop round on you like that.
Yeah, I was really impressed with how O'Regan was doing. You know, I think he'd made up about six or seven places at that point into like 8th place, but now he's still made 3. Ooh, who is that? Pisapora maybe?
How he was locked in a battle with around the sort of 11th, 12th space, and that's promoted the likes of McGlade and Roosendahl up a place. I think we're going to take another look and see how this happened. You can see he's on the back of the number 13. That's Ayan, so he was way up there in the likes of, I think P7 is Ayan, as they go through in towards turn 7, just really close behind. Very hard to see, so easy to run, just that little bit wide. And again, this track takes no prisoners. You give it the opportunity to, and it will spit you out.
Yeah, like we said, that was something we really focused on the build-up. We talked about how easy it is to dip a wheel onto the dirt, and as you can see, just done it there, and that is the consequences. So unforgiving, Laguna Seca.
Absolutely, and that's why it's been one of the most, you know, it's one of those circuits that you really can't afford to make any mistakes on. So you either love it or you hate it, as we see Nicholas Taylor once more having to go defensive against Nick Thyssen in towards, this will be turn 6. Still hanging on to that P4 because he's trying to hang on to that 2-place gain. And this is O'Regan, I think, once again making that mistake. It's just that negative feedback loop. Tyre temperature is so crucial in a series and a car like this, that, you know, one thing goes wrong, you spin it, you heat those rears up, and then those tyres are then heated up again for the next corner, and then it is just that negative feedback loop that mistakes just keep on coming and coming and coming. Unfortunately for O'Regan, yeah, I mean, that wasn't really much tyres, it was more the curb, but a simple mistake to make nonetheless.
Yeah, he'll be so disappointed with himself. He was having such a good race up until that point, made up plenty of positions, but I'm sure he'll be back even stronger for the next one as we see the 2 leaders into the Andretti hairpin.
potentially so. McIntyre finally putting on an offensive. Ryan McKelleth having a good offensive in towards turn 2. McIntyre certainly putting that pressure on, and now Callum Voisin is going to be licking his lips at this one. To the outside goes McIntyre. McKelleth gives him the squeeze towards turn 3. Callum Voisin all while closing this gap, and that pressure is building and building as the number 1 practically pushes our race leader through turn 3, and well, he might actually eye up a move very soon, but Callum Voisin, he's licking his lips. He wants to get on this fight, and we just saw there how that desperation, that need to win can also get into your head sometimes.
Yeah, perhaps having a bit of a George Russell moment at the Austrian Grand Prix, you know, when you're watching the 2 cars ahead of you fight, that you get off the track yourself, but pushing very hard for Voisin. Really wants to stay in that tow and be a part of this. I think it's really quite early for McIntyre to go, but maybe he senses that Voisin can close up into the latter stage of this race, and he doesn't want to be any part of that.
Absolutely, it's so much easier to win a race when you can just run away with it. Yes, it's a bit more boring, but if you're here to win, you want to make it as easy as possible. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But also for Ryan McKelleth, maybe this is strategic, backing up McIntyre into the likes of Voisin, so they fight, he can then get the lugs on them out in front. But we'll have to see, can William McIntyre mount yet another challenge towards the Andretti hairpin? You can see the number 1 closing and closing and closing. McKelleth not giving him the outside line this time. Down the inside goes William McIntyre. Ryan McKelleth sees him coming, has to give way because that outside line hardly ever works through turn 2, and you can see now William McIntyre inheriting the race lead. Ryan McKelleth having to tuck in behind. Has he got the pace to stay with him? These next laps are going to be very, very crucial, as once more Nicholas Taylor keeping now a train of 3 cars behind him.
Yeah, it seems to be the number 10 Taylor train here back for P4. We've got I think a number of cars together. Yeah, I think it's about 3-4 cars together here in this little battle pack, and it's very easy to keep Wid in the tow because I think tow gives you more of a benefit than you lose in dirty air in a car like this. So it is definitely easier to get into a more of a train type situation. Doing a good defensive display at the moment, and I guess we'll see how it forms up into the last 5 minutes.
It will go very wrong very quickly. You can see that is going to be Martinson trying to get Nick Thyssen, and that's the thing, that you try and open up, you try and go for the move, you're forced to the outside. That can invite everyone else behind you just to bully their way down the inside. We see it oftentimes in karting where you have these long trains, and Nicholas Taylor putting up what is a valiant defence. Look at the time they've lost to the top 3 in doing so, though. Over 11 seconds to McIntyre, so around about 10 seconds to the man in front of them of Callum Voisin, and yeah, that is the consequence of committing to defending this early. Nicholas Taylor wants this P4, clearly saw that the top 3 were unachievable, so thought, I'm just going to anchor down and try and keep it here. This is Nick Thyssen looking to the right-hand side. It's going to be the long way round, very hard to make it work. He's going to have to bait Nicholas Taylor into a mistake. Martinson as well, though, that looming threat. He's going to try and get in front of him, but it is just pointless battling for that number 4. His best bet is to wait for that number 7, Nick Thyssen, to claim the inside line so they can all just bully their way through.
Yeah, that is definitely a thought process that might be going through the third car's process in this train. And it's something like you say, them losing so much time to the leading cars. It's something to take into account that when we saw that battle at turn 1 only a few moments ago, perhaps Ryan's perspective of that, the number 6 car, was that he wanted to let them go so they don't bring Voisin into it. As you can see them battling now into the corkscrew. This and there you go. That is Martinson through on Thyssen, easy as you like, and now they're all going to be another one to go after Taylor.
Yeah, well, they're just swapping it out. They're just saying, I can't get through. You go have a go. Well, we have to cut our attention to maybe a bit of a mistake. This is Benish Ladd down in 17th place towards what is turn 6. The number 5 going to send one to the inside. And while both of them sent into the barriers for a premature end to this race. That was a fairly sizable whack, a fairly desperate move there from the number 5. We bring ourselves back to the live action, and you can see all that's McIntyre going nearly off the track on the exit of turn 3. Ryan McKelleth going to be licking his lips to that one and saying that he really wants to try and capitalise off this, but that is going to be well and truly a heart-in-the-mouth moment for our race leader.
How sideways did he get there on the grass? And he kept it completely pinned. Did not seem to lift whatsoever. Hardly lost, that much time when we're looking at it in the grand scheme of things. Maybe a tenth or two, if that. I mean, fantastic commitment there from McIntyre. And yeah, like you said, with the number 5 making a bit of a desperate move, perhaps frustrated from earlier on in the race. And as we'll see a replay of it. Yeah, I mean, look at that. You see him get a little bit sideways, but he kept it absolutely pinned. Absolutely no fear here in the virtual world. Obviously, if he's got his iRacing to worry about, but if he does crash in the sim, it's at least not going to hurt.
That is the one good thing. Well, one of many good things about sim racing, but when in doubt, just pin the throttle and, well, just go absolutely flat out. You can see Ryan Mikhailov trying to launch yet another attack, but it seems that McIntyre has got the legs. Still going defensive as a precautionary measure. Ryan Mikhailov very deep on the brakes towards the Andretti hairpin, and McIntyre doing the very good defensive strategy of just parking it on the inside. If he goes in slightly deeper, you could see Mikhailov was there, ready to eye up that switchback, and while McIntyre doing everything he can just to make sure no way through for Ryan Mikhailov as we approach the 3 minutes left to go. Should be, I think, it's going to be 2 laps after this one, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I think we'll go into 15 laps here. That seems to be what my software's telling me is going to happen. And we see, and that is Ryan Mikhailov wide. Again, another of them keeping it pinned. Only lost maybe a tenth at that. Really showing how drivable these cars are under tricky conditions. But yeah, Voisin not quite able to close in and catch up in order to get in with a bit of this fight. Perhaps that's from the fact that, we haven't seen the top two really go at it. They haven't been side by side for a number of corners yet. I will say yet. Here's hoping for a good battle towards the end. But yeah, Voisin not quite able to close up. And with a little bit of mistakes he keeps on making, just going a little bit wide, it's definitely not helping him.
It's just that stalemate, isn't it? The laps are fairly equal, so he can't close the gap. So he'll probably have to wait for that last lap charge, I think, when Ryan Mikhailov and McIntyre really go for it. Or potentially it could start on the penultimate lap here of lap 14. McIntyre going once again defensive, leaving a bit of a gap on the inside. Ryan Mikhailov might see that coming, and on the final lap might go for a last-ditch effort just to dummy it to the inside potentially. We'll have to wait and see how that one happens. But yeah, Callum Voisin, in doing so, in watching this battle, has managed to catch up a couple of tenths, but loses it through the middle sector, it seems, where these two can sort of calm it down. It's it's turned to the Andretti hairpin where they think about going side by side, but Voisin's like, I can catch up a little bit, and then it's single file, and then it's back to that stalemate, so he can't then keep closing that gap. But yeah, very much high stakes at the moment.
Does look to be starting to mount his challenge now, though. I think over the last few laps he really has been able to just bring it in, as we see so close to the gearbox there. Mikhailov just desperately looking for an opportunity to get past McIntyre. McIntyre with a slight grab of the brakes, and here comes Voisin.
Yeah, he's really, really close at the moment. He's well and truly there on the back of these guys, well and truly established himself into this fight, coming on to the final 12 corners of this race, coming on to the final lap of this race. Through turn 11 for the penultimate time, down the pitch straight for the penultimate time. Ryan Mikhailov is going to be, well, he's going to have a full heart of desperation as we go onto the white flag. These three have been at each other's throats for pretty much the entirety of the 20 minutes. Ryan Mikhailov, his last effort in towards the Andretti hairpin, has to look to the inside, try and bait him maybe into making a mistake of William McIntyre, or maybe to in fact cover his bases of Callum Voisin.
Yeah, I think we're seeing potentially a big three-way fight here. Like I said, you don't lose as much as you gain from the toe here, so Mikhailov is right onto it. So really pushing to the absolute limits here. We're seeing a really good perspective from the Lego car of Callum Voisin. I hope it's not made of Lego, that would end really badly, but it seems to have kept it together so far. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting into the final few corners of the race.
Absolutely. Mikhailov very close. In fact, Callum Voisin going very wide off the exit of turn 7. McIntyre going partially defensive in towards his corkscrew. In fact, he's going to cover us his bases. Here comes Ryan Mikhailov to the outside, sends McIntyre in deep. Is he going to go for the double under and over, or is he going to keep it pinned to the left-hand side in towards turn 9 for the final time? Here comes Mikhailov to the inside. Voisin back in it as well. Still side by side. McIntyre back up the inside. Here comes Mikhailov. He's both are off. Voisin through in towards P1, side by side with McIntyre towards turn 11. He's muscled off the track. It's going to be a drag race to the checkered flag. Callum Voisin rejoins. McIntyre controversially will come across the line. He takes the win here at Laguna Seca, followed by Callum Voisin and Ryan Mikhailov. And well, we said it was going to be gloves off into that final couple of corners, as Nick Thiston has suffered yet a similar fate to Ryan Mikhailov. Unfortunately for him, ended off slightly worse. But wow, Will, we said that was going to be gloves off, and it certainly was.
Yeah, that was very controversial. I'm not sure if McIntyre there was truly fair on the exit, but that would be something that they'll have to row about as we see. Yeah, Thyssen. as a contact, that was also last lap as well. Yeah, like you said, oh, and I think this might be, yeah, Voisin's not very happy with that at all. Potentially they'll have to sort that out in the steward's room afterwards.
Well, yeah, it would. If there was one, I wouldn't want to see cameras of it. In fact, actually, no, I would, actually. I'd love to see cameras of it. But we can see an aerial shot. You can see McIntyre on the inside there of turn 10. Just muscles him off. Gets a bit of understeer. Both of them go off. McIntyre keeps the throttle pinned. Voisin's like, cheers, I'm coming back up the inside. Then McIntyre, dirty tyres. You have to give him the benefit of the doubt there. But still no excuse for forcing a driver off, and that was Voisin's golden moment there. He was sat in the shadows for the entire race, probably waiting for that opportunity, and as soon as it did happen, it just all come unraveled pretty much as soon as it came.
It almost opened up for Voisin there, but you know what I see from McIntyre, you know, obviously fighting really, really hard for the win, and people do make mistakes, but I almost see him force 2 cars off here, and I think at the final corner, a bit of desperation maybe got the better of him, but he did win the race here today on track, and that is credit to how well he drove throughout the entirety of the race, keeping McKellar at bay and also making that move about mid to latter stage of the race.
Absolutely, and well, it certainly was about that we're going to remember, and well, Voisin is not going to be happy with that one. Luckily for him, he has got a number of race wins under his belt, 2 in GB3, and I guess winning in GB3 is a little bit more sweeter than taking 1 race win in iRacing. But this is how our top 10 rack up after 15 laps. It was William McIntyre, whether you like it or not, that took the checker flag in P1, with Callum Voisin in P2, and Ryan McKellar rounding off the podium there in P3. The number 10 of Nicholas Taylor managed to hang on in his 4-car train of Mattis Martinson, Van Handel and Nick Thyssen to hang on to 4th place. It was Martinson that joined him just behind in P5, and Niels Van Handel P6. Ayan, after Nick Thyssen's crash, will round off in P7, then Verhaert in P8, Nick Thyssen P9, with Roosendahl rounding off the top 10. And it'll come at Dan Blake in P11. Price in P12 with Lewis McGlade was on the fringes of a top 10 at one point, but I think damage, he succumbed to damage and unfortunately fell back to P13, exactly where he started. Kevin DePauw in P14 with Stein Sapp P15, Zielinski P16, Freddie Ingram, an unfortunate start to this race, P17 with Benish Ladd P18, and the 2 non-finishes of Zucker and O'Regan. The fastest lap with Callum Voisin with 21.4, so he certainly had the pace and he was pushing, but unfortunately things didn't quite go his way on that final lap.
No, but I think we saw a really enthralling race. We always get that from the iR-04s here on iRacing service. And do, you know, if you're interested, you've never seen iRacing content before, feel free to jump on down to iRacing.com and purchase yourself a subscription to get racing today.
Yeah, it's certainly worth every penny. It is iRacing, fantastic platform, especially for online racing. It is one of the leading platforms in both realism and in online racing. Very much enjoying it, especially in these iR-04s every week in, week out. They deliver. Doesn't matter where they go, they will always perform well. That is just a little snippet of what they can do. Next week, we'll be at Road Atlanta to end the American sim of Season 3. And we go to likes of Brands Hatch, Spa, Nürburgring, Alton Park, Hockenheimring, Suzuka, and the one and only Imola to round off the 12-week season here. That was round number 4 here at Laguna Seca. It was myself, Zach Sweeney, with Will Chadwick alongside me, and Connery Maddock behind the scenes, giving you the production feed. And well, on behalf of myself and Will, I can say we thoroughly enjoyed that. We hope you did as well at home, and we equally hope that you'll be back next week to join us for it all over again. Until then, guys, take care. See you next time. Bye-bye.